Today we're going to be taking a look at 75394 Imperial Star Destroyer. This set just released on August 1st with 1,555 pieces and a retail price of $160. And this set is part of celebrating the 25th anniversary of LEGO Star Wars, and because of that, it comes with a 25th anniversary Cal Kestis minifigure. And as some of you might know, this is the very first time that LEGO has ever made this character before. And also, speaking of this being a 25th anniversary set, I've said this time and time again, but the 25th anniversary box art is one of my favorite box arts of all time. The silver metallic blue just pops so much and looks really cool to me, and it especially works really well with this Star Destroyer. On the back of the box, you're going to see a render of how the entire set can open up and access the interior, as well as some pictures at the bottom that showcase some of the other play features. And also, if you look at the top here, the back of the box art looks like it's set on Corellia. It's nothing crazy, but I just thought it was cool and something that was worth pointing out. Anyways, now actually opening up the box and digging in, on the inside you're going to find 14 separately numbered bags, as well as your instruction manual and a sticker sheet in this cardboard case, with the instruction manual having a pretty ugly and poor looking render on the front of it, which doesn't look that great, but anyways, it also has a total of 300 pages. And then you're going to have a pretty decently large sticker sheet with a total of 13 stickers. The first figures we have up here is the Imperial crew member on the left and then Commander Prodigy on the right, and they both look pretty good. They're about as detailed as they need to be. I kind of wish Prodigy had some leg printing like the crew member, but it's not that big of a deal. Next up here we have the Imperial gunner, and this is also a pretty good looking figure. Very simple, but it gets the job done, and I really like its helmet mold a lot. And if you're wondering, here is what the face looks like underneath. And then next up here we of course have the Family Guy oversized helmet stormtrooper. It's the same one that we've been getting for years now, and I mean, it is just our default stormtrooper in this current time period, but I am always going to point out how I think the helmet is atrociously oversized and blocky looking, and hopefully someday in the coming years LEGO will fix this and we'll get a better stormtrooper helmet mold. Anyways though, if you're wondering, this is what the face looks like underneath. And then next up here we have the Imperial Navy Trooper, and I think this figure looks awesome. It's pretty unique and has a really awesome helmet mold, and also a pretty cool looking double-sided face that I think fits this figure really well. Although it doesn't have leg printing, again, like Captain Prodigy, I wish it did. It's not a big deal, but I mean, it's just preferable because this is a pretty expensive set. Then next up here we have Darth Vader. This is the current arm printed Darth Vader that we have been getting for a few years now. I think it was introduced in 2022, maybe 2021, but it works. I mean, this is arguably, actually not arguably, this is objectively the best Darth Vader they have ever made, and I'm just glad that it's the default one they're using in all of his respective sets now. It's really kind of timeless, and I honestly really wouldn't be surprised if it's here to stay for 10 more years or so. But then last, and certainly not least, we have the most hyped up figure in this set being Cal Kestis, and I think he looks great. He's got a really awesome looking torso print with the brown and the blue. I think it works really well together. He's also got nice leg printing and back printing, along with a pretty cool looking second face print that's sort of an angry face, although the elephant in the room with this figure is that he does not include his poncho that is pretty heavily shown throughout the game. And I'm honestly with everyone on this. I really wish he would have included his poncho, although at the same time, this figure, in my opinion, does look good enough to where like it's not necessarily the end of the world like some people are making it out to be. But I mean, again, it is the very first time they're making a fairly popular character that people have wanted for a long time, so I do think it's pretty annoying that they didn't give him everything that he needs to have. But at the same time, in my opinion, the prints on the figure do look good enough to where it's not necessarily the end of the world. But again, like everyone else, I do wish he included his poncho. And like the rest of the 25th anniversary figures, he does include a printed plaque that you can connect to the other figures to make a nice little display. But overall, I think this minifigure lineup is pretty solid, besides that Family Guy Stormtrooper, of course, and Cal not having his poncho. I do think for $160, we maybe could have gotten one more figure, maybe a second Imperial Navy Trooper, but I don't think it's that big of a deal because the ones that we do get complement the Star Destroyer pretty well. And speaking of the Star Destroyer itself, I have to say it's gorgeous. I honestly cannot put into words how good this set actually looks. It is so incredibly detailed, and I'd say it is the best looking playscale Star Destroyer that LEGO has made by a long shot. Like, I really am just kind of speechless at how well they did with this. It is just perfectly well built, it's extremely detailed, and just looks really good. Although, the elephant in the room with this set is that it's pretty small, especially compared to the previous two models. I unfortunately don't have the 2014 model on hand right now, but this picture by I Am Wicked on Instagram really shows how much the newer model has been downsized, and here it is compared to the $180 Dark Millennium Falcon that also released on August 1st. And funny enough, this Dark Falcon is basically the same size as the 2019 Millennium Falcon, and the Star Destroyer is the set that got downsized compared to its previous model. And honestly, in my opinion, I think the Falcon was the set that should have been downsized and retail for $160, and and the Star Destroyer should have been the set that was $180 and been the same size as the 2014 model, and also the most expensive playset of the year. And also, I've seen the argument people are making that like, oh, I like how it's smaller because it's easier to fit on shelves or easier to store, and I personally think this is just kind of a dumb argument. I mean, LEGO can't really cater to how much room you have to display your LEGO sets. Like when they make a new Death Star, you can't expect it to be downsized to fit on your desk or your shelf or something. It's the freaking Death Star. It's gonna be a massive set because it's a massive ship in Star Wars, and the same thing goes for these capital ships like a Star Destroyer. They are very massive ships, so I think it's kind of a no-brainer that they should be the biggest playsets in a year. And if you don't have room to store them or display them, I guess just make room or look for a smaller set. And if you want a better idea of the size, here it is compared to some other sets like the Ghost from last year, which is also $160, and the 2022 ATTE, which is $140. But like I said, the actual Star Destroyer itself, despite being downsized, looks very, very good, so let's dive into all the details. On the outside of the front here, you're just gonna have some very minor details and very minor greebling, with a few dark gray pieces mixed in on both sides. But when you get up to the middle area and the bulk of the ship is where it starts to get very, very detailed. The shaping around this area is just impressive. I could go on and on and on about how good they did with this, and there's even some little clear transparent pieces on the front and both sides to represent some lights and some windows in the Star Destroyer. And there's even lots of detailing and greebling and good shaping on the back of this area as well. They just did a very, very good job. The big turbo lasers on each side look really good as well. You can point the actual barrels themselves up and down, but the main feature with these things is that on the back here there are these little pieces that stick out, and you can pull and push on them, and what this does is actually make all of the turrets in unison aim back and forth. And I just think this is a really, really fun play feature. It's super simple, but it works so well, and it's just really fun to play with, to be honest. And then also around this area, these two panels right here can actually lift up to reveal your handle to hold the set. And I have to say, it works really well, and it's actually very, very sturdy. Like, I'm shaking this thing around pretty hard right here, and it's staying intact and holding up very well. I have to give props to LEGO for making this a pretty structurally sound build. You also might have noticed that there are two green spring-loaded shooters on the front right here, and there are these little buttons on both sides on the back that you can just press down, and it fires both the spring-loaded shooters. And this actually works very, very well. It's super efficient on how good they fire, and it's definitely one of the best mechanisms I've ever seen on a set to fire spring-loaded shooters. Taking a look at the actual bridge area, it looks super detailed as well. As you can see here, there's a sticker right on the front to represent the windows, and then there's some pretty nice greebling and detailing on the back of both sides, and you can kind of get a good idea at how they're able to pull this shape off. The top looks really good as well, although the actual tractor beams, the balls on each side, are perfectly rounded, when if you look at an actual Star Destroyer, they're sort of like an octagon or honeycomb shape. I don't know how to describe it, but they're not perfectly rounded, and right here they are. It's just a small nitpick on my part. I don't think it's that big of a deal, but I do wish these were the right shape. And then this sloped part behind the bridge looks very good as well, whatever you want to call it, the spine, I guess. And then right below that, you have the engines, which also, like everything else, look really, really good. I think they got the shaping of this back area and all the details down pretty much perfectly, and I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. Now, to access the interior, this whole section right here can actually just very easily lift up. It just sits on there and isn't attached. And then from there, you can easily fold open both panels on each side, and you have complete and pretty easy access to the entire interior. Now, starting off in the back left here, there is a little stickered control panel as well as two crates. The smaller one has detonators in it, and the larger one has a little pair of white binoculars. Then right in front of that, you're gonna have a little desk area with a spinny chair, and the desk has a printed control panel and a coffee cup on it. And you can take one of your figures like Captain Prodigy and sit him in the chair, and he has a little clip for his gun as well. Then in the middle of the back, there are two large transparent pieces with some stickers on them that depict some information about the Star Destroyer, as well as some information about TIE fighters on the right one. And then right in front of that, you're gonna have a little gun rack with two extra blasters. Towards the back right, there is another stickered control panel, and then right below that, you're gonna have this hologram, which I think is supposed to depict some type of battle. It looks like there's the Star Destroyer sitting there, and then the red pieces are supposed to represent enemy ships, I guess. And you can take one of your figures and sit it in front of this like they're kind of analyzing the hologram. Then right next to that, you're gonna have another little area with a blue syringe as well as a printed control panel, and then this little storage thing that has what I guess is just supposed to be a hologram inside of it. And around this area, there is plenty of room for you to sit any of the figures that you want to. And now moving on to the actual bridge itself, at the back of it here, you're gonna find three printed control panels, as well as quite a few stickers on the center and each side. The centered ones are kind of like staggered, every other one facing the opposite direction. And I guess if you want, there's actually room to sit your Imperial officer down here and act like he's manning the control panels. And then on the bridge walkway itself, obviously, that's where you can sit Darth Vader himself. Although as you'd expect, you can't leave him there when you try to close the Star Destroyer back up because there's not enough room, so you'll just have to find somewhere else to sit him. But then from there, you can easily fold both panels on each side back up and then grab your large centerpiece and try to sit it back down. Sometimes it gets caught on things, but it's not too tricky to put back in. And then from there, that is everything there is to see in this Star Destroyer. Now, would I recommend this set to you for $160? And honestly, I think it's pretty worth it. The build, for the most part, actually feels like it's worth its retail price, which is pretty rare for LEGO Star Wars sets today in 2024. And also, this is the first Playscale Star Destroyer they've made in literally 10 years. I think that alone is a good enough reason to go out and get this set if you don't have the 2014 or 2006 model. And I honestly just think this is going to end up being one of those sets that's on shelves for at least 3 or 4 years just because it's so popular and exceed the typical 2-year lifespan of LEGO Star Wars sets. So there's really no rush to go out and get this right now. It's probably going to be on shelves for years and years to come, but I do recommend that at some point you guys go out and try to get your hands on this if you don't have the previous 2 models, because it is a really great set. Like I said, the detailing is just immaculate. It's the best looking Star Destroyer LEGO has made by a long shot, although again, I do think it is a bit too small, so because of that, I'm just going to take off half the point and give it a 9.5 out of 10. I truly think this thing is incredible. I just wish it was a little bit bigger. Let me know what you think about this set down in the comments below. If you're new, please consider subscribing, and if you want to check out more of my videos, you can see the link on screen right now.